Hi, I'm Steven the Calculator Guy. I am in beautiful Salt Lake City here I was here for a investment thingy mabobber, and I met a really cool protocol. I'm not going to talk about them now. Just, no, they're Cypher on Solana, and it was a great pleasure meeting them, talking to one of their team members who's an absolute gig brain, and genuinely a pleasure to get to talk DeFi in a place where I didn't think I was going to get to talk too much DeFi. So that was awesome. Shout out to you, Barrett. Was really fun meeting you. Anyways, let's talk about Gearbox. Gearbox is all the rage right now on Ethereum. People are very excited about it. I want to talk about maybe some of the misconceptions that I had and the benefits, the risks, the exciting sort of investment opportunities, and sort of what's going on there. So let's jump right in. So first things first, what is Gearbox? Well, Gearbox is a protocol where you can be a lender or a leveraged yield farmer, very similar to like your Homoras, your Imprimaxes, your Taros, etc., etc. Or if you're a Solana person, your Franciums or your Tulips and the like. So I thought initially this was going to be a lot closer to a sturdy model. In fact, I sort of pitched them as a sturdy model to in my Twitter posts and some videos I did on my Discord. But then I dug more into the tokenomics, and it doesn't seem to be the case, which is, in my opinion, a bit of a bummer. However, I am perfectly open to being corrected if I'm misunderstanding the documents. So let's first look into the two different options here. Right, you can be a lender, where you're lending to the leverage yield farmers, or you can be a leverage yield farmer. We're going to talk about the benefits of both. Right now, anyone can be a lender with this low risk passive yield, and only people who have sort of been whitelisted on Wave 1 can be these leverage yield farmers. Wave 2 is currently open right now. If you want to get into Wave 2, all you have to do is DM Gearbox on Twitter. Let them know your wallet address, your Ethereum wallet address, please not your seed phrase, just your wallet address, which is a non-hackable piece of information, and that you're interested in getting on Wave 2. There's also a governance proposal on Gearbox's governance site where you can go and just add your information there. Same sort of thing, but generally Twitter is more accessible to people. A lot of people are a little bit uncomfortable doing sort of governance stuff, and I understand that. I hope to do a video in the future about like how to get into governance and why it's really not as scary as it seems, and why it's actually really healthy for DeFi. So if you jump into the Gearbox app, what you see, or DApp, what you see is that there's a ton of supplied liquidity or supplied assets for the leverage yield farmers, right? So you have 24 million DAI, 35.6 million USDC, almost 10 million wrap staked ETH. By the way, wrap staked ETH is awesome. It's what I think a lot of people have been waiting for a very long time. So instead of staked ETH, which is a rebasing liquid stake derivative, so every day you get a little bit more staked ETH, you have this wrap staked ETH. By the way, every time you get a rebase, it's a taxable event. With wrap staked ETH, it's just an interest bearing value accrual type derivative where it increases intrinsically in value by about 4% per year relative to ETH. So that's really cool. Love wrap stake ETH. It works just like all the other liquid stake derivatives all around DeFi, like ST Matic, Matic X, Near X, SFTFMX, HBAR X, BNB, all the Stater derivatives, all the Lido derivatives, and then everything in between, Marinade, Solana, and Solana. Anyways, I digress. So right now you can see there's really nice looking APYs for things like wrapped staked Ethereum and wrapped Ethereum, 7.11% on Ethereum. That's awesome. But there's a caveat here, right? There's a big caveat. The organic yield is pretty low. Kind of disappointingly low, right? So here we have this 0.7% organic yield coming in the form of more DAI. And then we have 4.98% coming in the form of liquidity mining for Gear APY. Gear, to my understanding, has not launched yet. And so if you look down here, the second number is the annualized gear you're earning as part of the liquidity mining program. The calculations are based off of an assumption of 20 million FDV for gear. So yeah, I don't love it. I don't like when protocols will advertise a particular yield for an asset that's not out yet. And I also thought they were using a sturdy model where the lenders were going to get subsidized by a portion of the leverage's yield. I thought that's what sort of made Gearbox really appealing and intriguing. So I could be wrong. Maybe that is happening in some capacity, but to my understanding, it's not. To my understanding, it's just like an Aave model where utilization ratio determines the borrow APY, and then there's some sort of subsidization by a proprietary asset. Uh, I hope they move to a sturdy model. You can see I even have sturdy ready, so I can talk about a few other things. But I digress. Let's talk about the leverage yield farming, which is the primary interesting point about this protocol. So if you go over here to credit accounts, if you choose strategy, then you can see, wow, there are some really nice yields that are going to be consistent. Right? These yields are going to be relatively consistent. They're not going to be hyperinflationary. They're going to be subsidized by Gear in the future, but even without being subsidized, these yields are, in my opinion, very attractive to especially larger investors who would otherwise tank yields based off of their investment. So, you're getting some of these you want to be worried about. Like you don't necessarily want to be investing uh, without understanding the risks. So, like LUSD3 curve, lovely APY or APR actually. No, it's not an APY. Lovely APR. However, what I will say is that LUSD may go to parity, which means LUSD may drop from its current $1.04 to $1, which is great for the health of the stablecoin, making it look more stable. But that means if you're leveraged long on LUSD and borrowing some other and short on some other stablecoin against it, and LUSD goes down, you could get liquidated, right? Or your principal position is now leveraged downwards, that 4%. And if you're 10x, you might even be seeing a leveraged negative initial. So I don't. My risk reward would not would not have me doing 10x leverage on convex LUSD3 curve. That's just my own personal risk reward, and you should consider that too. Like, do you think LUSD is going to go down to parity, especially with like chicken bonds? Which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, and you're just like, why is this guy talking about chickens? I understand. I won't judge you. So, some of the ones I would be more interested in, probably the Frax3 curve. I personally think Frax is a pretty robust partial algo stable. It's like 93% backed by over collateralized stablecoins and collateralized stablecoins, and the remaining 7% by FXX algo. So it's one thing to keep in mind. And then, even things like SUSD, which I believe is an over collateralized stablecoin. So convex curve SUSD, 14%. That's pretty good. 14% on stables, that I think is going to be consistent and long lasting. That does get me out of bed in the morning. I think that's a pretty good yield. So the next thing that you have to consider is the fact that you are required a minimum borrow of $100,000. So that's if you're max leveraging at 10x, you need at least $10,000. In fact, you need more than that. You need about 10,500, 10,700 to actually hit that 100,000 borrow rate. So we can look at one of these Frax. This is kind of what I'm interested in. By the way, you can zap in with any of these assets, which is really nice. So let's click one click ape in. If we were to do 10x leverage on, I was going to enter a position here, but I'm rethinking that for a few reasons, and I'll talk to you about why. So the reason why I'm rethinking it is you'll receive 99.75 thousand, right? So I don't hit that minimum of 100,000, unfortunately. I would need like 10,500 in order to meet that minimum. So I can't even invest with my $10,000, which is a really large investment for me. I'm not a whale, right, guys? I'm just a guy trying to make some investments, and this would be too large a portion of my portfolio. I generally like to say that you should not invest any more than 5% of your portfolio into any one given strategy, and $10,000 would be more than 5% of my portfolio. So, yeah, I'm put in a tough place here. I'm interested, but it's out of my price range, which is where we can talk about sturdy later, which allows you to make any investment size. But anyways, let's say you would click here, add asset, and then you can borrow, and there you go. Now you're making about 16%, which is really good, I think, for this particular position. Now, the rewards are not auto compounded in, so you're going to be exposed to like FXS, maybe Curve, or Convex, and maybe you don't want to be exposed to those. Maybe you don't want to have to compound those. Maybe you don't want to have to sell those out to realize your APY. Well, that's all things to consider before investing, because it's going to be gas fees, right? You're also probably going to have around $100, maybe more than $100 gas fee to enter, and the same thing with exiting. And because of that, you may want to consider that as well as something that's going to eat into your yield. So, honestly, with those gas fees plus the fees required to sell and actualize additional rewards, I would say you would want to have a $10,000 or larger investment size, because otherwise, there are probably better opportunities out there for in that range on other chains. So definitely things to consider. Again, I love Gear. I think Gear is fantastic for medium-sized and large-sized investors, but for smaller investors, I just don't think it's very viable. And already it's impossible because you have to put in 10K, and if your whole portfolio is 10K, you do not want to be even if I think Gearbox is super robust. I mean, it does have, I believe, an Open Zeppelin or Trail of Bits audit, so it has amazing audits. You don't want to be you don't want your portfolio to be fully exposed to one protocol. That's just ridiculous. You would never want to do that, even with like Aave, right? You just don't want to be that exposed. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, let's say that that you are interested in this sort of mechanism, but you can't necessarily uh, put up $10,000. Maybe you want to go over Sturdy, right? So we've talked about Sturdy before. I am not a shill for Sturdy by any means. I do not get paid to talk about Sturdy. Sturdy is just simply what I thought was a similar model. However, Sturdy does pay a portion of the yields you get from leveraging your LP to the borrowers, which is how they're able to have sort of like no interest borrowing, which I think is really cool. And I thought that's what Gearbox was going to be doing, but apparently not. So, anyways, like let's say you're totally cool with Frax. You like this Frax USDC LP. You click deposit. You use leverage. You do all the way up there. You're getting 11%. That's not amazing, and you're paying $240 in gas. Not great. You click yes down here for flash loans. Same thing. Now you're getting 14% and paying $50 in gas. That's way better. So like this, and you can do any size. You don't have to have an initial $10,000 to invest here. So I think the Sturdy mechanism is very cool. I don't want to say it's superior because I don't know necessarily whether or not it is. I just know that I really like the fact that instead of having to pay interest, you're simply giving them a portion of your yield. I like that model because if the yield fluctuates up or down, then you're still only losing a percentage of that. You're not paying a fixed rate, which could go above the yield you're getting and give you a negative APY or APR, which I don't like. I hate when I get negative APYs and APRs, which does happen sometimes on platforms like Taro or Impermax and the like. So two different models. We'll see how Gearbox goes forward. Also in the future, there will be Gearbox rewards that'll subsidize this yield so you get even higher yields. But then, of course, you're going to have gear, and what you do with that, how you actualize rewards, that's totally going to be up to you. So finally, of course, I'm going to tell you guys about the DeFi Dojo because I love it. It's the greatest Discord in the entire world. It's a decentralized think tank. We have literally over 60 different builders from all over DeFi. I'm talking about DeFi Llama we have in there. We have Alpha Hamor. We have Solend. We have the Byte Masons. We got Osmosis. We have people from all over. I mean, genuinely, it's a super cool place. And on top of that, like just smart people, non-shilling, discussing strategies, picking them apart, looking for the best yields, looking for the safest yields, talking about due diligence on yields and trying to neutralize yields, looking for all sorts of different strategies. It's a very cool place. You can join for free for the first month, and then if you don't like it, you can leave before you ever pay a dime. And because I am the calculator guy, of course, I made a calculator to see if it might be worth it for you. So I will say, fully transparently, it's probably not worth it for all investors to join the DeFi Dojo Discord. So it's at $4 a month right now, which means the yearly cost with that free first month is $440. So if your DeFi investment size is $5,000, then we either need to be saving you 440s by protecting you from exploits, which we definitely do. Like we do a lot of security stuff, and I do believe will protect you from losing 440. That's definitely something that I believe, but it's harder for me to quantify that. Like maybe you want to go ape into something really volatile, and you ask us first, and we're like, hold up, please don't do that. And then you end up saving a large portion of your portfolio. That's hard to quantify. So what I can quantify is how much yield you can get on like a pretty stable investment, whether it be delta neutral or stable coins. And so at a $5,000 investment level, let's say you're $5,000 in DeFi, if you're getting 8.8% APY, then it is now paying for itself, right? We can do much better than 8.8%. I don't like to do guarantees. My own personal portfolio, which is about 10 times the size of the $5,000 is getting roughly a 25 to 35% APY on any given month. And we really do a lot more due diligence nowadays. Full transparency, post Beanstalk hack, we completely renovated our due diligence, the way in which we look at risk, the way in which we look at portfolio allocations. And you can ask anyone in the DeFi dojo. There has been like a culture shift. We're just a much smarter Discord, and it is a place to be reckoned with. I am certainly not the smartest person in the room in that Discord. Like, we just have very, very clever folk in there, and I am so proud and humbled by what we've created. Anyways, if you're interested, please come and hang out. First month is free. If it's not for you, by all means, no need to stay. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna go check out the rest of Salt Lake City, hang out with some Mormons maybe, and I'll have a great time. So thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.